Hello there, folks. Welcome to today's video. We are going to be playing on the Hive server of Bedrock Minecraft. So, for this, it seems like we're going to be building a treehouse. Looking back on this, I can see why a lot of builds are better than this, but I was on a time constraint. While we're watching here, you can see I'm making the trunk of the tree. So far, so good. A little 4x4 cylinder going upwards. Now, when I was making the roots of this tree, I was not expecting it to end up as much of a swastika shape that it does looking like in the recording. It did that. Anyway, the treehouse build is probably my best one in the video. There's about 20 minutes of this, so beware, you're gonna be here for a while. So, here I noticed that it was kind of a short tree, so if I was gonna get actual use out of this, I probably need to extend it up. So I extended up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, like, pretty sure it was 7 blocks up. And here I begin actually building the treehouse. I decided to use oak wood for it. Now, when I was making this, I thought that it would turn out a little bit better than it did, but it really just looks like a box with 4 windows. As you can see here, I'm building the floor, and yeah, just putting some blocks down. I decided that the floor should be about 2 blocks away from the trunk on all sides. And then here, I decided to make a bottom trimming of oak stairs. There is a design choice change, I believe, coming up here in a second. But for the most part, it's mostly just an oak tree and treehouse. Now, coming up here when I finish this first layer of oak logs, and I move on to the second layer, you're gonna start seeing where I started making choices in the design. They're not particularly bad, I would use them again, however, I'd put them to better use than I did. I'm not exactly amazing at Minecraft building, but I know that there was a better way for me to build a treehouse than this. However, there were time constraints, so I will give myself a pass on some of this. Now, this started to get a little bit stressful because there was 2 minutes, and I had basically done nothing for the house. However, you can see the trimming I did on the windows. I like the design. However, I'd probably use it with different blocks and maybe not a treehouse. There were definitely better ways to utilize the treehouse part of this. Anyway, I decided to mimic the bottom trim up to the top, making it a symmetrical shape to some degree. And I barely have time to actually finish the tree. As you can see here, I only have a minute or two. But luckily, I do finish it. Now, I should probably have used more variety in the woods I used. But once again, we're going to be extending the tree up. I didn't exactly have a lot of time, so I just left the log like that. Anyway, now we're building the branches of the tree, which I think I made the tree look really nice. It might look better without the treehouse on it, in all honesty. But, for most of this, I just completely winged it. I had no plan for the branches. I honestly wasn't even expecting to get this far. I have played a lot of the Hive. Not a lot, but I've played this minigame in particular before and got the treehouse before also. And I never had time to finish the branches. Anyway, here I had the idea to fill in the windows with polished basalt. And then I noticed how little time I had, destroyed it, and just sat there admiring this utter piece of crap. So, now we're going to get on to the reviewing part of this minigame. As you can see from the people running around, a lot of them put in some really bad reviews, mostly red. If you're wondering about the scales, there is meh, which is pretty much really bad. There is okay, good, great, and love. All of these different ones, you can kind of guess where they are. This build, I kind of liked it. It would do good, however, it'd have to be put at a distance, and I would definitely make some design changes. I do think the podzol there and all the blocks they used was a really good idea. There was this thing which they made a treehouse and you could go inside it and all that, so that was pretty good. I voted good on that. This was made by the red team. This was an abomination. Someone built this. However, I noticed this in a minute here. You can actually go inside of this strange treehouse. It has a furnace, a crafting table, and a chest and stuff. It's everything you need in a house. This was okay. I kind of liked this one. It looks like it could work the way it was built. However, it would definitely need more of a complex tree to work off of. Other than that, the general idea was pretty cool. I mean, treehouse. This, it was a lot like mine, except it was finished. So I gave it a decent rating. However, they could have put more work in on the tree and maybe put a roof on it, you know. This build was kind of reminded me that I needed to add an interior. This build here by Light Purple, it is actually kind of cool. I really liked what they did. Instead of using leaves, they used moss, which I think could work, but you would probably need a coating of leaves on top of that as well. But it would really help to thicken it out. Anyway, this was in no way related to tree houses, but this was just hilarious to come across. This was just funny. It's Among Us. This build here is different. It's a treehouse, yes, but it is mostly house and a lot less tree. We still have a bit of runtime here, don't we? Yeah, we have a good while. Anyway, this build was okay. It was better than some of the other ones. This was completely unrelated to the topic we were supposed to build, so I rated this the lowest one. However, if this was like supposed to be like a tea table or something, this would have worked great, and they could have used that design for the chair. It would have worked really well. This um this tree house is less of a house and more of a tree balcony. However, I kind of saw what they were doing. It works. Yeah. Um we probably yeah, it's a tree balcony. It's not a house. Anyway, the game ended. I didn't even end up on that scoreboard, but it was okay. Okay game. I liked some of the builds. Oh yeah, that thing won. That thing won. Then there wasn't many better builds though, so I suppose I understand. Anyway, over here I'm just in the lobby. Little, I guess, question here. So, I haven't uploaded in a while. That's pretty obvious. Thank you for watching this video if you are. Anyway, I tend to do this a lot, but when I was voting for the theme, I ended up getting stuck behind. So I don't think a lot of weight was put on my vote because of that. I actually accidentally voted for Umbrella at first. Anyway, we got Windmill for this one. Now, when you see what I do, you're gonna see why this was probably the worst thing I could have done. It'll get the general idea across, but you'll see what I mean. Anyway, what you saw me do with the floor, anyone who plays the mini game but doesn't know how to do that, you just go into the chat box, do /floor, and whatever you have in your hand, it'll make that the floor, the build space. Neat thing that popped up in the help section one time. I didn't know I could do this. I don't think a lot of other people do, because you'll see a lot of builds with just the basic one. So if you play this, you should definitely try using that, because it is extremely useful for getting just a genuinely better rating. I see that a lot of ratings on this are based off how, obviously it's based off the look, but a lot of it is also kind of based on little tiny details. So you could have a magnificent windmill, but you'll get a lower rating because someone else put some buttons on the end there. But here I did something I thought would look cool but didn't. I tried to make wooden bolts on the second layer. It kind of works, however, it might not be so easy to get the idea I was going for. So part of the reason I believe that I got a lower rating on that build. So this is like a 4-story thing here. Anyway, the time crunch finally began. Here, 3 minutes. It's not a lot of time to do much, but I was kind of proud of what I was able to do here. If I had more time, I would have built a better windmill. But of course, the whole point of this mini game is that you're supposed to time crunch what you build. A lot of this was me trying to speed through so that I could get to the actual windmill part. Because as you see, when we get to the ranking section of these, a lot of them never even finish putting a blade on there. I really wanted to put a blade on my windmill because, I mean, it's a windmill, it needs the blades. But a lot of this, I wasted a lot of time on the structure. I probably should have put a lot more than I did into working on the blade structure. And I almost wish I didn't go for the old-timey windmill and went for the more modern ones. But I do like the concept I was going for here. The reason I say that is that there's a build later on that we'll see. They did a really good job at making the modern windmills, and it seems like a pretty simple build. So here what you're going to see is I tried to make, after I finished the roof on the windmill, I tried to make a rope-like structure to hold like the motor of the windmill. Don't know exactly what was going through my head, but I used spruce logs and spruce fences to do this. Spruce wood is a just really good building block. Most of them do really good in complexion against oak wood. Of course, that is a personal opinion. But here you're gonna see. Like I said, I went for the old-timey windmill. I even used a very basic structure for it. I'm gonna use white wool to make the blades. I probably should have used something like concrete, or maybe even concrete powder for the gradient there. But I didn't. I used the wool. And honestly, it didn't turn out terribly. If I'd finished the blades, it probably would have turned out a lot better. But as you can see here, I had to do this in a really short amount of time. If you do make a windmill build, I suggest putting a lot more time into the blade than probably the rest of the build. Um, yeah, that's a lot of what this build was. Anyway, we're gonna get on to the ranking part. This is what I was talking about. For the most part, you can't tell if this is supposed to be a graveyard or not, but you can see what they were going for with the more modern windmills, especially that one in the middle. They had something really good going. If they would have finished it, I really think it would have been a really, really good build. This was just this is just a crappy skyblock. I don't know what they were going for here, but at least it's not as bad as some of the other builds that will show up on the server. Here, this was just stupid. It was kind of funny. I don't know who did this. It'll tell me here, but this was hilarious. They just put a grass block in the middle of the build space. I don't know why that took them so long. The gold team. Don't know what this was meant to be. Probably a windmill, but I have no idea what they were aiming for when starting out the structure. They probably started building and then went AFK or something. This build, this is kind of like what I was trying to do, except they actually finished it. It's not a particularly great build in general, but I do like this design for the windmill. If we had more time, we probably would have had more builds. Again, since that is right before my build, we can directly contrast them. Mine, when I look at it more now, I notice that the body of the structure is not very great, and if I had the opportunity, I probably would change that. This little thing, this really got me. I like the way it looks. They used a lot of, not a lot of, but the main block they used was a custom building block on the server. So obviously, you could just do this with normal oak wood, but I really liked that one. Now this one, I feel like if they would have had the opportunity to finish it, it would have been better. But that's just me. I really like the silo look they were going for on this. If they'd finished it again, it would have been great. Okay, so moving on here. This thing. I see what they were going to do, but they didn't even put a blade on it yet, so I can't really give it any higher than the lowest rating. I wish that they had finished it, because obviously whoever did this had a better conception of Minecraft circles than I do. This is a complete windmill. A lot of the things on this playthrough weren't complete, so I had to give this a good rating. It's not a particularly amazing one, but they fucking finished it. So this is a really good example of a nice modern windmill. Really liked what they did here. They did a pretty decent job. Anyway, this is, I really liked it, but okay, I didn't talk much there. I kind of stuttered a bit, but this design for a windmill, it's like what I was doing, but I really like how they added like a little living quarters on the right side. I think this would be an amazing build to put somewhere. It would probably need more time for complexion. Anyway, game over. We're gonna start the next round soon. I got third place in this one, so I did better than before. But we're moving on in another game in 3 seconds here. That was the winner. I can see why. It is a decent windmill. It was complete. And also, there is a lot of cool stuff to be said about the lobbies for the Hive network. Anyway, back to the themes. I wanted to do shopping. At first, I wanted to do the police, but then I wanted to do the shopping. However, we ended up getting cars. And as you see, this is probably my least favorite build I did. It started out really sloppy and with a little too much time used extra. But the concept I was going for here was I was gonna use bamboo slabs to make a parking lot. However, whatever the Hive network did, I guess they didn't. They're not there, so I wasn't able to do that. So I grabbed some sandstone and started building this little parkway here. The actual car part of this build definitely needed to be better. I feel like I focus more on the scenes for these smaller types of builds than I probably should. Anyway, I used this andesite to try to make a sign. I never put the sign though, so I'm not exactly sure what I was thinking. Yeah. We're gonna see here that I just put another sign at the end of that. Now you're gonna see the crap that is me trying to build a car in Minecraft. I decided to use crimson wood for the body of the car and black concrete powder for the wheels. There were definitely better choices for the wheels, I'm not going to lie there. However, I think with a little bit of work, I could do a better job on the car. I'm just not that great with vehicles in Minecraft. I'm actually gonna move the vehicle from here, so that kind of murders my time a bit. However, I still have 3 minutes. That's not terrible, but again, that is still a time crunch. Now I'm gonna start building the body. You can see the first couple of things I tried to do. Now, looking at this now, I can see probably something I should have done was made the body a little bit longer, maybe like 4 blocks. Now, this part is gonna get some reworking done on it. I tried to add a lot of detail to it. It doesn't work great. Anyway, I pick a glass block. I decide to go with magenta stained glass. And I start to rework the hood here because obviously just being some flat blocks ain't gonna work. So I begin work on the body some more. I place the glass. I remember to fill in the rest of the body. And then I start to work. I don't actually know what I'm doing when I'm doing this build. So this just goes through like a good 10, 20 seconds of me just thinking through what to do and building it out. We had this little bubble here, which was my first idea. I start adding some slabs. I make the engine block. It's going okay from here, but of course the car just doesn't look that good. It never was going to. If the Hive seems to have blocked out a lot of odd building blocks, so when I'm building the back of the car here, I wanted to add some license plates, again in the form of bamboo wood, but they don't have that, so I was not going to be able to use the signs. I don't know why, probably because you could do server breaking stuff with a lot of redstone components, I guess, but they seem to have stopped a lot of building blocks in their tracks. They have just deleted signs completely. A lot of stuff is missing for redstone. It seems like they maybe just didn't update it a lot. Although they do have some of the newer building blocks, so I'm not 100% sure. Now, what we're going to see here is me trying to rework just some final details. I go into my inventory, I start looking through some stuff. Now, this is part of what I hated about this build. I decided to do this to make the street. Now, Due to how I had built the car, I wasn't able to do a straight line of two, so I decided to do a diagonal line of two wool going down. Um, yeah, crappy build. Anyway, this this was an odd little build. It looked kind of like a toy car, I guess. I can't say much because my build wasn't incredible, but I had to rate this an okay. Now we move on here. This is my build. We're gonna see the reviews rolling. You can already see the people grabbing yellow and orange. One of them has red. One of them actually grabbed a green block, which I feel good about. They did that. So thank you, whoever that was. But it really wasn't going great. This was kind of funny. XD, and then they had a nice little car. It was a good build. I mean, I can't say much. My build just got terrible reviews, so I'm not sure what I could have said here. Now, we move on. We got a little 2D pixel art thing. I like what they did with the netherite wheels. That would be really good on a car that had one block wheels. However, for this, they could have done a lot more here. They could have made a hubcap and stuff. They could have done some better stuff here with this pixel art thing. I also think it would have been better laid on its side. This thing, it's just insane. It's a fucking platypus car, mate, and that's what this is. It's a platypus car. They made the hubcaps out of bedrock. Don't know why. That is a terrible building block. It is terrible to use in builds, and they never even finished it, I guess. This, I see what they were going for. They could have easily meant to do something completely different, but it was off center. I didn't like that, so I immediately rated it a bit lower. But I can see what they were going for there. There are some cool cars that look like that. This thing, it just wasn't complete. It wasn't a car. I don't know. They had legs on it. It looks like odd contraption. It was not a car. Yellow team did not do great work there. Anyway, moving on. The game is over. I believe this is the last game I did. So, yeah, of course, I would like you to like and subscribe. I have some other videos you might like. I am sorry for not posting in a little bit. So, goodbye.